Hi guys, it's Paula. I am back with another video. I am super passionate and excited about this video for some reason. I don't know if it's the caffeine in my coffee or what. Like a lot of you guys watching, I am in love with makeup, and my favorite part about putting on makeup is eyeshadow, and I know you guys feel the same way. If I had to choose one part of doing my eye makeup that was my absolute favorite, I would say it is the transition area, from the crease to the transition. If you are a hooded girl like me, you know that is the most important part about your eye makeup. When your eyes are open and you are looking ahead, you only see a sliver of the lid shade, and that's where I love to play with color. The lid is an important part of your eyeshadow, don't get me wrong, but I love the transition. And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I've been watching a lot of 1 month updates for Pan That Palette over the last week. Everybody I'm following and everybody that I'm friends with on YouTube and Instagram is posting their updates right now. It's the first week of February, so that's what's all over YouTube. And I noticed a pattern. Everybody has hit their first pans in their transition shades, and everybody's talking about how sad they are. For those of you that don't know, the transition shade is usually a warm toned, like orangey colored or peach colored, a cool toned like pink or mauve, or a neutral light brown color that goes right here. So right today I have kind of a mauve pink colored transition, but that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a transition eyeshadow, the shadow that you put right there. And that's my favorite part. So everybody's starting to hit pan on those shadows in their palettes. Some people are even finishing off those shadows already, and they're saying, I don't know what to do. I'm so sad this is gone. Well, I have the solution. I have made a side piece. This is a little magnetic palette with a bunch of singles that I have put together to go with any other palette, whether it is because the palette doesn't really have good shadows like this in it to begin with, or because you're panning a palette and you're starting to use these shades up first before you've finished other shimmery shadows or other like shadows that are good for the lid. The brands of these shadows are not important. That's not relevant. The idea is to find some warm toned and neutral and cool toned pinky shadows that you can have on hand when you need them to go with your eyeshadow look. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. Now, obviously, these shadows have all been chosen by me and are very good for my skin tone. But if you are on the fairer side of the skin tone and much fairer than me, these shadows might be too dark for you, and you might want to use this as a guide to find shadows that are a little bit lighter than this, but along the same idea. And obviously, if you are dark skinned, these shadows would be too light for you, and you might want to find different shadows that are along the same line but darker and work for your skin tone. So these work really well for my kind of medium skin tone. All right, so before I get into the specifics of this palette, I wanted to give you some examples of why I think you need, I'm excited to have this, and I think you need this palette too. Some palettes just don't have good transition shades. This is the Urban Decay shadow box, and every single one of these shadows are shimmery except for the black. So although you could use them for transition shades, if I was panning this palette, I would probably want a couple of additional shadows to go with it to complete the eye look I was doing. Not to beat up on Urban Decay, but this is the Moon Dust palette, and this is just all shimmery shadows, kind of glittery shimmery shadows. So these are all fun pops of color, but obviously none of these would really be a complete eye look on their own or even mixed together. But if you paired it with this, you have a complete eye look. A couple more examples. This old NARS palette. Again, it has all of their, what are they called? Dual intensity eyeshadows in it. Ugh. And so again, all shine, no real matte shades. This BH Cosmetics Wild and Free palette, all shine, no matte. So this is a common theme that I'm finding in a lot of my palettes. And I would just have to go and pull some other shades out. This is a Juvia's Place palette, the Zulu. And of course this is a matte, this brown, but for my skin tone that would be way too dark to use alone as a transition shade. And the other mattes are very colorful and then shimmery colors. Also, if you're like me and you buy singles, you might have a magnetic palette like this. And most of these are Makeup Geek. They're foiled shadows. Some are shadows that I ordered from Luxie Beauty. And then there's a couple of random singles, like that's MAC Copper Ring, and that's a Big Guys of Sephora shadow. But if I wanted to work with this palette, I probably wouldn't use it alone again. But once again, if I pair it with my new little side piece, I can get a ton of complete looks. When I was talking about the palettes that people are panning and losing their transition shades first, I immediately thought of the original Naked palette. I've been seeing a ton of people panning this year, and they're already hitting pan on Naked and Buck, and they still have a ton left of all of these shadows. And also a ton of people this year are panning the Modern Renaissance. And so they're hitting pan on Golden Ochre, Burnt Orange, mostly those two people are hitting pan on first, and then they still have all of these shadows to work on before they can finish panning their palette. So that's all you need. Let's talk about why I think transition shadows are so important for a second. I really think they give a completed look to your eye look. I also think they create that seamless, flawless finish. So there's no harsh lines, there's no, if you like that editorial, edgy look and you can pull it off, good for you, but I cannot. I want everything soft and blended, and I want to do it quickly. I don't want to blend for 30 minutes. I just want to layer a lighter color and then a little bit deeper on top of it, and that's it. You know, it's really easy. It doesn't have to be a big process, but I think it just really makes the look completed. I do also find myself, and let me know if any of you guys do this too, but I do tend to match my lipstick, or not match, but coordinate my lipstick color to my transition shade. So if I was to wear this exact same look, this exact same eyelid color, which is Urban Decay Lounge, it's a single I have. I could totally do a burnt orange, warm orange transition and crease, but then I might go with a much warmer colored lipstick, like a peach colored. But today I went with this kind of cranberry mauve pink transition, so I went with a more pink colored lipstick. So I do tend to do that, and I think that also creates a very coordinated look. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. Okay, so let's talk about my side piece. It is amazing what happens when both of my kids take a nap at the same time. It doesn't happen often. The stars have to align and, you know, magic happens. But when it does, I run to my office where I have all my makeup and start playing. And so that's basically what happened last night. I just finished watching a ton of 1 month updates for Pan That palettes and was seeing people over and over talk about how they were sad their transition shade was going. And I thought, I know what I gotta do. So I pulled out this small magnetic palette. It is a Z palette, but I already had it. And I emptied it out of the shadows that were in it. And I started plucking some of my ideal transition shades. So let's go through it. So first up here in this corner, I have a matte white or cream colored shadow. The point of this shadow is to be skin toned. So if you are deep skin, this would be too light. You'd have to go with something deeper. But for me, this is a perfectly fine cream colored shadow. And this is good for setting your eyeshadow primer. I have gotten in the habit of doing that lately. I don't always do it. A lot of times I use a colored eyeshadow base to go under my eyeshadow, and if I do that, I don't use this. But if I'm using a skin colored or clear eyeshadow primer, I will set it with a cream color. Next, I have a shimmery but not glittery vanilla color, and this is my inner corner highlight and my brow bone highlight. So, and I do like a shimmery but not glittery brow bone highlight personally. I almost use that every single day. I very rarely go with a matte brow bone highlight, but if that's not your cup of tea, you know, you can skip that. But these two are kind of must-haves for me to keep on hand when these go from my palettes. I currently do have a cream shadow in my Pan That palette this year, so I don't need to dip into this right now, but I do not have a shimmery brow bone highlight in my Pan That palette, so I have been using one in addition to my Pan That palette every day. Okay, so these next three shadows here are like my warm colored trio. So I chose this peachy, light peach color, which I would apply first in my transition. And then this deeper peach color that would go on top of the peach, on top of this one, but slightly lower. And then this burnt orange color that I would put right in my crease at the lowest point, right down in there. So those are my warm trio right there. Then here is my cool colored pink trio. This I put first, this I put second, and then sometimes I use this cranberry shade right in my crease. And those are the three shadows that I used for this look today. And then finally I put together a kind of neutral toned duo actually. So there's this color right here that I would put on first. This is a Makeup Geek shadow if you're wondering. It is called Creme Brulee, but it is very close to Soft Brown from MAC. They're very close. So either one of those, if you have them, are good for the first layer in your transition. And then a deeper mid-tone brown would go on top of that. I put this espresso color in. This would be to set my liner or to deepen up my crease. So that's not really part of the transition color. This is this little guy is also a shimmery vanilla colored highlight. So obviously I don't need both of these, but that little space was open and I had to fill it because it was staring at me. So I just put that there to kind of fill the palette and make it cute. So this is my new side piece. I love it. I'm so excited about it. I was happy to pull it out this morning in conjunction with the single shadows I used on my lid. Yeah, that's it. Tell me what you think about this. Have you guys already thought of this? Do you already have this in your stash? Obviously, not everybody has as many depotted single shadows as I do. I went depotting crazy a few years ago. When I first discovered how to depot shadows and blushes and highlighters and bronzers, I grabbed my flat iron and depotted everything I could. I think I have 10 Z palettes or magnetic palettes that are full of depotted shadows. So when it comes to something like this, I have plenty to choose from to create a palette like this. But, you know, there's tons of companies that are selling just loose single eyeshadows now. MAC always has. You don't have to get them in the individual compact and depot them. You can just buy them as a single like this. Makeup Geek does the same thing. Both of their prices, I think, are $6, but if you wait for a sale, you can get them even cheaper. ColourPop now does it, and then there's a ton of great indie brands that are also doing it as well. I've bought single shadows from Looksy and Lala Cosmetics, to name a couple, but there's way more out there that I've never. Oh, Coastal Scents, BH Cosmetics, they both do single shadows too. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.